This is New Day Northwest. Now, here's Margaret Larson.
Good morning, everybody, and welcome to New Day Northwest. Everybody's very excited to meet rocker Rick Springfield, whose career in music and acting extended to writing his memoir a few years ago, which was great, and now his first novel. The semifinals on the hit show The Voice have wrapped up, so what does our friend Brooke Fox from 92.5 think? Her hits and misses later this morning. She never pulls her punches. And it's Wellness Wednesday, so we'll be taking your questions for our panel of experts today. But first up, a Grammy Award-winning rock star, actor, and author of a best-selling memoir tries his hand at fiction with some pretty great results. Rick Springfield has won legions of fans for his music with a long string of hits, including Jesse's Girl, which won a Grammy Award in 1982. Although he's been acting since he first arrived in the U.S., his popularity skyrocketed when he joined the cast of General Hospital as Dr. Noah Drake. Hubba hubba. Rick opened his heart in his frank memoir, Late at Night, in which he shared a lifelong struggle with depression, and he talked about writing as a sort of therapy for him. Now he's written his debut novel, Magnificent Vibration, a mind-blowing journey of self-discovery. I just finished it. It's terrific. We are thrilled he's here. Please welcome Rick Springfield. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, I'm glad to.
I think you really do have quite a few Seattle fans, and we're just delighted to host you. Where'd you grow up?
What's that? Sorry, I have ADD, and I suddenly saw all these green T-shirts.
Yes. There's a lot of green out there.
Distracted me. All right, I'm good. So
good. Where'd you grow up?
I grew up in Australia. I was born in Australia. Then we moved to England when I was a kid and lived there for a while. Then moved back to Australia, and I came over here in 1971, 72.
And you wrote a bit as a kid, I understand.
Yeah, that's really where I got my. This is the only thing I was good at school was my essays, and so they encouraged me to be that and drumming on the desk. They encouraged me to write. You know, my teachers encouraged me to write because it was. Seemed like an obvious step to them for me, and so I started focusing on that, and then I discovered the guitar, and my writing went to songwriting. I channeled it into songwriting, but I always kept the prose thing in mind and written on and off.
Right.
But I wrote my autobiography myself, and my publisher liked the way I wrote, so she suggested I write fiction.
Well, not that it matters, but I liked it too. I love rock memoirs, and some are okay, and some are great, and yours is great.
Thank you.
And the fact that you did write it yourself, which I think you can tell as a reader, you know, you pick up on whether this is somebody's voice.
It's a similar voice to the book, I think,
too.
It
is, and so this book, first of all, you know, it opens with a dude having a cell phone conversation with God. So you had me at, you know, page 8 or whatever, because I thought, okay, this is going to be fun. And we have our protagonist, Horatio/Bob. How much is he like you?
There's quite a bit of me in each character, even the creepy ones, because we have that in us, you know. I mean, we're complete people,
whole.
Right? And so I started with the characters with something I know, something truthful, and then the character grew out of the story and became the character. But it does, for me, it was appropriate to start with a moment of truth. Bobby's family is nothing like mine. I mean, his dad is a negligent. I don't know if I can say the appropriate word, but
a negligent father.
Yeah, with my dad, I loved my dad, and he was very, very much a hands-on, attentive dad. But I don't know, maybe it's elements of me as a dad too.
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah. I mean, that's one thing I don't know if people know. You've been married for a long time.
I have.
And
I have.
Yeah. Since what, 1984?
Yeah, 30 years.
In the rock world, that's like 150 years.
It is, yes.
So,
and dog years, it's even longer.
Dog years, way long. Have kids, have been a dad, have had this whole life experience, which is kind of cool because I think sometimes people miss out, get so into whatever they're doing that they forget to have a real life.
I think you did the same thing. When my first son was born, I pulled the plug in my career. In 1985, when things were still flying, I pulled the plug and became a house husband. Some of it was because my depression had hit me really hard at that point, and which I detail in my autobiography about having achieved all this stuff that I thought would heal me, and it didn't heal me. And at that point, I realized that it was up to me, and it really drove me under. But my son was born, so I took that time off to raise him, and and my second son as well, and that's really gold at this point.
It is, isn't
you
it?
can't, you can't replace that.
That time goes by
They don't
so
listen
quickly.
to me, but we
well,
love each other.
You know what they do? It's in there somewhere, is my theory, my hope.
Not mine.
My son just got home from college last night, so we'll see over this visit if any of it sank in. But
well, they don't do anything bad at college anyway, so you're good.
really? Is
Yeah,
that
pretty
is that
much.
true?
Yeah, they
figured-
just study and stuff like
I
that.
have an admission to make, and I don't know if this makes me a bad mother, but like I'm relieved I don't know what's going on. I just don't even want to know.
You
at
don't.
This point.
My mom didn't want to know
I can't do anything about it.
I was this far from juvenile hall for 3 years, and she was totally clueless.
See, I'm sure she appreciates
and
that.
she heard about stuff that I wrote in the memoir. She said, Richard! My mom sounds a lot like Monty Python's women. Richard! I had no idea!
She sounds like John Cleese.
Yeah.
That's funny. Well, if it's okay, I want to ask you a little bit about your depression, and you have a character in this book, the sister, who has problems as well, and you have no reason to know this, but on the show we do a lot of segments we call Stigma to Hope, trying to kind of open up the conversation about mental health issues and get things out on the table.
You got the right guy.
So, I mean, I thought that was brave and generous of you, and I really appreciated it, that you were willing to write about it and write about it in a realistic way.
Well,
what's come back to you from people? What do you hear back?
I mean, when I first finished my autobiography, the way they're usually written is a celebrity sits down with a writer and they talk their story into a tape recorder. The writer goes away and writes a story. And that's what I originally did with this. And I read the first chapter, and she's a good writer, but it was like, well, this could be any musician.
Yeah, it wasn't
So
you.
I wrote it myself, and I knew the stuff would come out that I was uncomfortable with. And in fact, when I finished it, 6 weeks before the release, I called them up and said, I don't want this book released. And they talked me off the ledge, but it's a lot of private stuff in there, and it wouldn't have been a true story without all the stuff that I told. And my depression that started when I was about 14. Actually, my autobiography opens up with me at 16 trying to hang myself in the garden shed, which is true. I mean, of course it's true. This is fiction. This
That's
is fiction.
The memoir
autobiography is true. So I've had to deal with it all my life, and it wouldn't have been a complete story if I hadn't addressed it, because the thing that I learned from my autobiography is that I put it to use. I haven't let it take me down, but that's where any creativity I have comes from that. My writing, all my writing comes from, because when you're depressed, you look inward. If you're happy, it's like, yeah, come on, let's party. But when you're depressed, you're alone, you go, what the hell is going on with me? And you become introspective, and that's where creativity, that's where writing comes from. I don't know any writer, songwriter, or novel writer who's a shiny, happy guy. And I had this really funny, because I had this image initially of being a shiny, happy pop guy. And so a lot of people
You absolutely did, yeah.
And a lot of people were very surprised when they read the autobiography. And so...
Which actually made me appreciate it all the more.
There's a shiny, happy guy right there.
There's a shiny, happy guy. It made me appreciate it all the more because you let us in. You know, you went against type with the truth, and you let us in, and it meant something. And I wondered, when you had your boys, did you worry that they would suffer with depression?
I did. I think it's their own journey. It is your own journey. I mean, I can talk all I want about it, but it really is your own journey, the people that have it, and it's my own journey. And my kids, I don't know if they are touched with it. I didn't really kind of truly, I was a moody kid. That's all they knew it as when I was a young musician. As I got older, I started to go, hey, hang on. I should be getting past this young, moody kid thing. And it got, as 30, it really started to punch me pretty hard. And I would suggest to them, which I think therapy is good, but I don't think it's a life sentence. Depression is a life sentence. So you can't go to rehab and go, hey, yeah, I had a terrible coke habit. I'm done. It's all good. Let me write my memoir about my terrible life as a coke addict. With depression, it's a life sentence, and you have to deal with it. I have to deal with it. Not every day, but I have to deal with it.
But you have to manage it in your life.
Like when this book came out, I instead of being really elated, oh my God, my first novel, I got so depressed.
And that's the interesting thing about depression, is that the kickoff can be something
great.
bad or something great.
It's totally,
and it's a mystery. It's a
no,
real mystery.
There's no rhyme or reason to it, and I don't want to be the depression poster child, though it looks like I'm becoming that.
I didn't mean to make you
No, it's all right. I mean, I get it, but I mean, there's a ton of sex in the book, because I was a bad boyfriend and husband for a long time, and I thought oh my God, they're going to constantly throw this at me. It's never going to go away. But no one's ever said anything, but everyone's focused on the depression, which is great because, you know, every musician has those sections. Yeah, that's what I said. We expected that.
Check that
We just didn't expect.
Yeah, we weren't expecting this other thing. And because I honestly think it's a generous thing to do. I mean, it's you know, it would be easy just to live the facade, and it's incredibly generous to let us in and help other people.
I wanted it to be truthful, and honestly, it came out of I wasn't being incredibly altruistic to do it, really. It was, this is my story, I'm going to tell it. And then when I started realizing people would read it, that's when I started getting nervous and going, wait, people are going to actually read this. You know, seriously, when you're writing it, you're into the writing, you know, and going, yeah, that's how that... and then, like I said, 6 weeks before it came out, I thought, people are actually going to read this.
I wish I'd had a camera for when your mother was reading. That would have been really...
She didn't.
She didn't read it?
She had people tell her. So
okay.
I called up and said, Mom, don't read it. You're not going. I said the same thing with this, too. Although there's a quote on her, but it may have come from me. She wrote...
What did she write as a blurb
according to my
book?
mother...
I love this so
Richard
much.
is a very naughty boy. Why can't he write a nice story? I don't know why he's so obsessed with his private parts. Rude child, I wish it had a daughter.
Best blurb ever. Thank you so much. I mean, we've enjoyed all the things you've created, the songs, the music, the books, the acting, everything has just been wonderful, and it's been a great pleasure to meet you. Thanks a bunch for coming in. We appreciate it. Rick Springfield, everybody. Going to sign books tonight at 7 at University Bookstore. The event is free, but you do need a signing ticket in advance to stand in the signing line. We'll have details online for you. And then on July 31st, Rick and his band perform at Tulalip Amphitheater along with Pat Benatar, who I wanted to be when I was growing up. We have posted details on both events on our website. And a special bonus, Rick has brought copies of Magnificent Vibration for everybody here. Woo!
You're paying for it, though. It's not free.
It is
free.
It's free. Up next, cancer survivors rock the runway in a special fashion event. And later, our good friend Brooke Fox from Movin' 92.5 recaps the semifinal action on The Voice. We're going to see if her favorites are still in the running after a quick break. Thank you.